Coffee Hour. Welcome to Coffee with our morning host. We broadcast a host of programs like current topics, newspaper headlines, and music on Radio Sri Lanka. Tune in every weekday from 7 to 8 a.m.
Good morning to you and a warm welcome to our program, Coffee Hour. And this morning we have with us the IFJ Director of the Asia Pacific region, Jane Worthington. A very warm welcome to our program.
Oh, good morning. Thanks for having me.
It's an honor to have you down in Sri Lanka, and we are here for an important cause. So it's about strengthening the rights of journalists and much more. So in a layman's point of view, because now everyone, our listeners, might be wondering, what exactly is IFJ, International Federation of Journalists? But I'm pretty sure you have more to tell about IFJ.
Yes, the IFJ, or the International Federation of Journalists, it's the global body of journalist trade unions and collective organisations, including press freedom associations. And we represent more than 600,000 journalists around the world in more than 134 countries. So we are collectively the largest voice of journalists in the world.
And we're glad that you're here in Sri Lanka, and that's for a purpose. But let's not go there. Let's talk about the activities conducted in the region.
So the IFJ does many different activities in the region across Asia Pacific, all the way from the Pacific right up to Mongolia and across to Afghanistan and everywhere in between. A first part of our work is monitoring rights violations. These include attacks against journalists, threats to journalists, and issuing statements and collective voice of solidarity for journalists when they are under threat or have had a challenge to their professional industry. That's one part of what we do. Another huge part of what we do increasingly is about supporting a sustainable media into the future. And we do a variety of projects that are aimed at supporting media workers across the region in all different ways. But at its bottom line, it is about press freedom, it is about defending democracy, and it is about supporting and defending journalists' rights, and that includes their rights to a decent wage.
Being an international body, and you mentioned that there are more than 134 countries, so obviously it's not the same in every country. Situations are different, challenges are different, and the problems they face are different. So what do you have to say about our region in particular?
Well, the Asia-Pacific region is a particularly challenged region. It's challenging for a number of reasons. I mean, we've got a lot of challenged democracies, fragile democracies. We've got a media industry that is precarious, that we are seeing a disruption to the financial sustainability of the industry. On top of that, we're also a region that unfortunately has one of the highest rates of killings of journalists in the world. The Asia-Pacific region routinely ranks either number one or number two in the world for journalist killings, but on top of the killings, that is just the tip of the iceberg. There are threats and challenges to journalists in their everyday life every day.
And it doesn't feel great to be on the top list of this, but how can IFJ help in terms of strengthening the rights of journalists in this region in particular?
So first line of work is defence and voicing out, because we can shine a light on these issues, and that also serves to educate journalists on their rights, because you would be surprised how many journalists do not know their rights. They might think that they know their rights, but there is a huge number of rights that of journalists that they are unaware of, and a fundamental one is the right to a decent wage and a regular wage and being paid on time. And the reason that is important is because we need strong, independent journalists who are not open to the possibility of bribery or corruption. I mean, at the end of the day, every person, every working person wants to have enough money to go and support their family, to survive, to live a life. And it's the same for journalists. And so that is the fundamental bottom line for a trade union body like the IFJ, that we believe that journalists need a decent wage in order to defend and protect themselves against the many, many influences or pressures that they will face from governments, from military, from special intelligence, from religious groups, from powerful people.
Exactly. There's a lot to be done in terms of getting there, I guess, Jane. But let's also talk about the projects IFJ has currently initiated.
We are working in a number of countries around the Asia region right now under our union-to-union project, which is funded by the Swedish trade union movement. We're working specifically in the Philippines, Indonesia and Sri Lanka, and we're working here to strengthen journalist trade unions and to help them build a plan to organise, to grow and to represent media workers on the issues that matter.
And that certainly is not going to be an easy process. So how long do you think this would take, at least to get to baby steps?
Look, I mean, it's a 3-year plan at this stage, but, you know, the wins can happen as quickly as tomorrow. It's really up to the media community to come together to collectively determine the issues that they want to work on, that they can work on and that they can win on. So, but right now we're in a planning stage of helping the unions evaluate and see where they can organise to grow. There's a huge potential for growth for many of the affiliates in our region and in these specific countries to organise specifically freelance workers, digital media workers and young media workers, because these workers are the ones that are being exploited mostly. You know, that's not to say that exploitation and violation of journalists' working wages isn't happening in other areas, but certainly they are at the front line of some of the challenges in terms of overwork, you know, being manipulated, not being offered contracts when they're offered employment, not being paid when they're freelance. And I mean, it's crazy, but there are some freelance journalists out there and employers who love to believe that being a freelance journalist means you come free, and that is certainly not the case. Freelance journalists need to be paid, and they need to be paid a decent wage. And there's a growing collective of freelance journalists who are now coming together to defend this right and to say this is not enough to leave us vulnerable, that they are organising strategies to engage with media houses to agree on a decent wage for a decent day's pay.
Exactly, and I mean, everybody should be valued for what they do, and I guess this is their basic right, and let's strive hard and work towards achieving this goal. Thank you so much, Jane, for sparing some time on Coffee Hour.
Thanks so much for having me.
You've been listening to Coffee Hour with Jane Worthington, IFJ Director of the Asia Pacific region.
The Coffee Hour. Welcome to Coffee with our morning host. We broadcast a host of programs like current topics, newspaper headlines, and music on Radio Sri Lanka. Tune in every weekday from 7 to 8 a.m.